The impending decision tomorrow to axe winter fuel payments has sparked a significant political debate, with opposition mounting from various factions, including Labour itself. Rachel Reeves, the Labour Chancellor, has defended the government's decision, framing it as a necessary move to address the fiscal black hole left by the Conservatives, though, of course, that black hole arguably will not appear until 2028 and was arguably known about even before the government got into power. But it is nevertheless testimony to very poor management. And the backlash against the present government is palpable, particularly among Labour MPs and the SNP leadership, including Stephen Flynn, who stood up in Parliament calling for a rebellion. And Flynn's call for Labour MPs to oppose the cut reflects broader concerns about the social and humanitarian impact of such measures. The SNP's argument centres on the dangers of exacerbating fuel poverty, particularly during a time of rising energy prices and inflation. Flynn has warned that this move could push millions of pensioners into severe hardship, and with winter approaching, the decision feels not only economically driven but morally questionable. This knee-jerk response, not only here but also with the VAT on schools, and there's a sense that this is testing the resolve of the party and testing the leadership, the stamina of Keir Starmer. And it's actually about authority rather than about saving money. There are other ways that the government could have saved money. Dame Diana Johnson's remarks earlier today about mitigating the impact of the cuts were swiftly walked back with suggestions that she misspoke on television. But this walk back has further fueled criticism as it exposes internal miscommunication and uncertainty within the government ranks. For Johnson, the lack of a coherent mitigation plan for pensioners further undermines the government's position. As many as 50 Labour MPs are expected to abstain, citing both moral and political reasons. However, abstaining may not be enough to placate public opinion and may not be enough to avoid losing the whip. And the party's internal rebellion could deepen. There's also a looming question regarding the potential loss of the whip for the people earlier who rebelled against the party. Is this rebellion greater or less than that one? You know, about the 7 Labour MPs who defied the party on the 2-child benefit cap vote. Reeves' assertion that there are more difficult decisions to come has not been well received by those MPs critical of this decision. Labour's 2017 stance on similar cuts under Theresa May makes this current policy even more contentious, as the party had previously warned that such cuts would cause nearly 4,000 excess deaths. Richard Burgon echoed these fears, citing 1.6 million pensioners who are already living in poverty and could lose their winter fuel payments, potentially pushing many into dangerous living conditions. The question now is whether Labour can withstand the internal discontent while maintaining the whip. Well, at least that's one of the questions. The other question is whether there is going to be serious hardship. Starmer and Reeves seem resolute, hoping in all likelihood to avoid a damaging U-turn that could undermine their credibility completely. But as pressure mounts from both the SNP and rebellious Labour MPs, it is clear that this vote has become more than just about fiscal responsibility. It's about the party's broader direction and values. And in the days to come, Labour will need to reconcile its economic decisions with its historical commitments to pensioners and to the vulnerable. The question remains, will abstention serve as an acceptable form of dissent, or will it ignite further internal strife within Starmer's leadership? And indeed, is his majority actually big enough to withstand this sort of pressure? I think he would probably argue that it is, and his whips would probably argue that it is. But the opposition to this issue, I think, is significant. And I don't think it can simply be. I don't think it can simply be tossed off in the same way that Richard Tice's question about VAT on independent schools was so quickly tossed off by the Education Secretary. I don't think it's as easy as that.